G'day everyone, welcome to the video. You know, one of the things I've learned since living full-time in the bus is that your setup is never truly finished. You're always going to be tweaking things and making little improvements as you go along. When we hit the road, I thought I pretty much had everything that I was going to need for full-time bus life. But it wasn't until we'd actually been travelling for a few months that I experienced a few issues and realised that there were some things that I could add that were just going to make bus life a little bit easier. So in this video, I thought I'd share with you some of the things I've purchased recently that actually solve some of the problems that I've had to deal with on the road. A couple of them relate to my electrical setup. One of them makes shopping a lot easier. One of them is probably the least glamorous thing I've ever purchased. And the last one is something that's a bit fun for me, but will hopefully also make things better for all of you guys that watch my videos. So the first thing that I want to mention, which is probably the most expensive thing I've purchased recently, but it's also the thing that I'm most excited about, is this here. So I bought a portable solar panel and a portable power station. Now, if you've followed my build videos, you'll know that I already had a pretty decent size electrical setup in this bus. I've got over 1300 watts of solar on the roof and almost 600 amp hours equivalent of lithium batteries. So it's a pretty decent size setup. And I spent extra money on my electrical setup in the beginning because I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to camp off grid for as much as possible, but still be able to run all the things I wanted to run. Now, I have a full-size 240 volt fridge that I run 24/7. I have no gas in the bus, so all my cooking is electrical. I have an electrical induction cooker. I have a little benchtop oven that I use quite a lot as well. I have an electric hot water system. I run a sewing machine and a printer and other things for my bookmaking business. And I also need to use Starlink because obviously I make videos and run an online business, and a lot of places where I camp, Telstra reception is not good enough for decent internet. So I also have Starlink, and all of those things chew a lot of power. So I needed a decent size electrical system to be able to run all that. And for the most part, my system works beautifully. I can pretty much last indefinitely without having to plug into a powered site, as long as the weather is fine and I've got full sun on the solar panels. And that's the catch, because if even some of those panels are shaded, then their efficiency drops quite a bit and you don't get anywhere near their full capacity. And during those first few months that we were traveling, I had a few instances where the campgrounds that I was staying at, it just wasn't possible to get full sun on the bus roof. I mean, sometimes, especially in summer, sometimes you don't want to park the bus in full sun because you need some shade just to keep things a little bit cooler and more comfortable. But also at some campgrounds, it's just not physically possible to get enough sun on the panels for long enough during the day. I had that problem when we stayed at Corindi Beach earlier this year. Absolutely beautiful campground, but almost every site in the campground was shaded. There were trees everywhere, and I don't think there was any spot in that whole campground that had full sun during the day. So unfortunately, even though we would get a little bit of sun trickling throughout the day, it wasn't enough to fully recharge the batteries by the end of the day. And so after 3 days staying at Corindi Beach, my bus batteries had dropped to 35%. And so even though I would have liked to have stayed there another day or two, in the end I had to leave because I didn't want to run the risk of dropping my batteries too low and running out of power. The irony with that campground was that where the bus was parked, just a few meters away on the other side of a little barrier fence, was a patch of grass that got full sun almost all day. So if I'd had the portable solar panel then, I could have put it out, moved it around a bit during the day and got a little bit of extra juice, and maybe I would have been able to stay at that campground for an extra day or two. I also had a similar problem at one of my other favourite campgrounds in Deepwater in New South Wales, where some of my favourite spots there are quite shady, and so you don't always get enough sun to fully recharge by the end of the day. So I decided to buy a portable solar panel so that I could have something that I could position independently from the bus and move it around to where the sun was, so that the bus could be parked in partial shade, but I could have this solar panel out somewhere away from the bus in full full sun just to get a little bit of extra juice coming in. And the solar panel that I bought is an Exotronic brand. It's actually a brand that my electrician recommended to me because they're pretty good quality. Super easy to set up. It just folds out. And you can see it has these stands that come out the back. So you just face it towards the sun. Open up those. And I bought a 10-meter solar cable as well, so I can put that solar panel up to 10 meters away from the bus if I need to. So it's really easy to find a little patch of sun, even if the bus is in full shade. Now, I could have hooked that panel directly into the bus system to charge the main bus batteries. That wasn't going to be straightforward though, because my bus system is actually 24 volt setup, and most portable solar panels like this one are 12 volts, so it's a little bit trickier. I also would have had to pay an electrician to do the connections and set up the solar controller and things to be able to hook that into my main existing system. And so it would have been doable, but it was going to be a little bit costly and a little bit fiddly. And then I had the idea of getting a portable power station because, you know, I've seen heaps of videos online with people raving about them and how good they are. And I thought, well, if I get one of those, I can use the solar panel to charge it, because you can plug the solar panel directly into this. You don't need any special connections, or, you know, I don't have to get an electrician to come and hook it up for me. And it would also give me basically an extra battery. And the beauty of this is that I can use it to run my Starlink, I can charge my phone, my laptop, all my cameras, all my devices I can charge off this, and I can use the portable solar panel to keep this fully charged while it's running all those things. And so the idea is that it'll take a little bit of pressure off the main battery system. So the one I bought is the Bluetti Elite 100. It's probably, I don't think it's the smallest model that they have, but it's certainly one of the smallest sizes. I don't have a lot of physical space or weight allowance left in my bus. She's pretty full. So I stuck with the smaller size, and also just because I've not used one of these before, I didn't want to spend a huge amount of money up front until I'd had a chance to test it out and get a sense of whether it's actually worth it or not. So now I have to say that I am not affiliated with Bluetti in any way. I paid for this outright with my own money. I'm pretty sure Bluetti don't even realize that my channel exists. So this is not by any means a sponsored review. In fact, it's not even a review because I haven't had this for very long. So I haven't had a chance to really test it out and form an opinion as to whether it was worth the extra money. So I will be doing a future video specifically about my little portable electrical setup here once I've had the chance to use it for a few months and test it out in real life scenarios and get a sense of whether it was actually worth the money. I did test it out a little bit while we were back at my parents' place in Brisbane, because where we were parked there was very shaded spot, only got sun on the panels for like an hour or two in the middle of the day, and the rest of the time was very much in shade. And so it was very similar to the spot that we had at Corindi Beach. So I was interested to use this and test out my theory as to whether it was actually going to help. And so that's what I did. With the bus parked in the shaded spot there, I used this solar panel that I could position in the patches of sun and move it throughout the day. I use that to charge this, and I use the Bluetti to run my Starlink and charge all my devices. And after 3 days of doing that at my parents' place, the bus batteries were down to 60%. So that's a lot better than the 35% I had for a similar situation at Corindi Beach. So stay tuned for the proper review in a few months' time. But I am excitedly optimistic, just based on what I've seen it do so far, that it's going to make a big difference for situations where I can't always have the bus in full sun, and hopefully it'll just allow me to stay an extra day or two longer in that beautiful camp spot. So while we're on the subject of power, something else that I bought recently for the bus is this. It's a cable reel for storing my power cord. Previously, I was using one of these to store my power cord. It's just a cord winder from Bunnings. They're like $5. They're cheap as chips, and they're a good option. They do help to keep the cord organised. But the issue I was having with this was that it was quite awkward to wind up the cord using this and stop it from twisting. So you'll know that when you're rolling up power leads and storing them, it's important not to get the leads twisted and kinked, because it can damage the cable inside. And there's a bit of a knack to sort of keeping the cord untwisted as you're rolling it up. And I just found it was a bit awkward to do with this. Also, I have issues with my wrists are quite weak, and I have joint issues. So holding this while wrapping the electrical cord around, which is quite heavy, I actually found a bit awkward as well. So yes, these do work, but I just found it wasn't ideal. And then I saw these. I can't remember where I saw it now. I was watching a video of someone's on YouTube, and they had one of these and it looked amazing. So I went online and checked them out. This one is by a company called Flat Out. They're an Australian company. These reels are made in Australia and they're really good quality. They have a few different sizes on their website. This one that I bought is the original size. I think it's the biggest one that they have. It actually holds up to, I think, 25 or 30 metre long electrical cord. My electrical lead's only 15 metres, so as you can see, I've still got quite a bit of room inside there. I'm thinking I'm going to upgrade to a slightly longer one. At some stage anyway, which is why I went for the bigger size. I think this one I paid $75 or $80 for. It's obviously a lot more expensive than the $5 one from Bunnings, but oh my God, guys, this thing here is it's amazing. I can just hold it with the handle. If it gets too heavy, I can rest the reel on a table or a chair or even on the ground and just roll it up. They just make rolling up the leads so much easier. It rolls it up nice and straight, doesn't twist it at all. And because it's like quite sturdy plastic, once it's rolled up inside and you've got it just stored in your bus or your van somewhere, it does actually help to protect the lead from damage as well. So yeah, I've been using this one for a while now. Highly recommend it. Again, not affiliated with Flat Out in any way, just really happy with the product. And yeah, would definitely recommend getting one of these just to make packing up and storing your leads so much easier. So I live full-time on the road in my bus. So obviously from time to time I have to do grocery shopping and pick up other supplies. And because my bus doesn't fit in an ordinary car park space, sometimes I have to park it quite a distance away from the shops. And that means if I've got a couple of bags of groceries, then I have to carry them as I'm walking back to the bus. I do have a little backpack that I sometimes take to the shops with me, so I can load that up as well, and that makes it a little bit easier to carry things back to the bus. But there were a couple of times I just found it was quite a challenge, particularly I remember in Uralla when we stayed at the showgrounds there. There was a couple of times I walked down into town just to get some fruit and veg, and the walk back up to the showgrounds from town was all uphill, and yeah, that was a bit of a challenge lugging shopping bags back up the hill. So one of the other things that I've bought since I've been on the road is this thing. It's actually a folding shopping trolley, and it has made a huge difference for when I'm doing my shopping. Just makes it a lot easier to get things back to the bus. So this one that I have is a Wanderer brand, and I bought it online from BCF. You can get these sort of shopping trolleys in heaps of places online, like Amazon, eBay, heaps of places sell them. This one in particular got a lot of good reviews, so I went with that. there's a fair bit of room in there. If you're wondering what this green thing is, it's just a plastic cutting mat that I put on the bottom just to make the bottom a bit more solid so it's easier to pack things on there. But there's quite a bit of room inside that. And it also comes with this little chiller bag attached as well, which is really great. So if I'm buying frozen stuff or, you know, dairy products or anything that I want to be kept cold while I'm walking back to the bus, I can pop those in there as well. And then there's another little pocket on the back. I can put keys or whatever in there. So yeah, it's really super handy. And honestly, I'm so glad I bought it. I've used it quite a few times now when I'm getting groceries. I also used it just the other day when we're in Inverell, and I had a couple of parcels to pick up from the post office because I had Pepper with me too. So there was no way I would have been able to carry these boxes while also wrangling Pepper on a lead back through town. So having this, I was able to pack the things in this and just wheel it back while walking her, and it was just so much easier. So yeah, definitely glad I bought this. I wish I'd bought it sooner. And yeah, it folds down into a pretty compact size, and I can fit it under Pepper's bed in the front cab area. Very useful piece of kit, and I highly recommend this if you live full-time on the road. So the next thing that I've purchased recently is probably the least glamorous thing to talk about purchasing. And if you're at all squeamish about discussions around toilets and things like that, maybe tune out for a couple of minutes. It's one of these. So you might recognise it. It's a urine jug for the Nature's Head composting toilet, which is what I have in my bus. Now, we talked about I've had the issue where I've had to leave a campground early than I planned because I couldn't get enough solar on the roof of the bus. But the other issue that I've also come across is having to leave earlier than you'd like because of limited toilet capacity. So as I said, I've got a Nature's Head composting toilet in my bus, and I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's way better than the traditional cassette toilets where, you know, most people were having to find dump points every 3 or 4 days to empty those. With the Nature's Head, I can go for weeks without having to empty the solids compartment, but you still have to deal with the liquids, the urine jug. And this is the size of the urine jug that comes with the toilet. It's pretty big. I forget how many litres it is exactly. I think it's maybe 8 litre capacity total, which sounds like a lot. And I guess for some people it is, but personally I think I pee quite a lot. And if I don't have access to any other toilets, if I'm solely relying on my toilet in the bus, I would just about like 3/4 fill this jug in like 3 days. This urine container, because it's basically just urine, can be emptied into any flushing toilet. If I'm out bush at a free camp, I can empty it discreetly, you know, under a tree away from campsites. So a lot of the time it's no drama at all to empty this. But I have had a couple of times where I've been in a free camp where there's been no amenities at all, so no toilet where you could potentially dump this, no dump point, and also not really any bushland or trees that are away from campsites where people are camped where you could discreetly empty this. So in those situations, I'm limited to staying in that spot for a maximum of about 3 days, because then I have to leave camp to find somewhere to empty this. So I decided to order a second one of these, and you can easily just order one online from the Nature's Head website. It was about $100 I think plus shipping to get this one sent. So now I have 2, so potentially I can go 6 or 7 days before having to worry about emptying the urine container. So it's just a small thing, doesn't take up too much space in the bus, doesn't weigh very much, but it's great to have on hand for times that I need it, because again, it means the difference between having to pack up camp and move earlier than you'd like just to empty the toilet, or being able to stay an extra few days in a beautiful camp spot. So the latest thing that I've purchased, and this is what I mentioned in my introduction, is a bit of a fun one for me, but I think it'll also make things a little bit better for you guys that watch my videos, because I bought one of these. It's a controller for a DJI drone. So this is the little drone that I have. It's the DJI Neo. And I bought this last year just before we hit the road, and I'd never used a drone before, so it was completely new to me, pretty steep learning curve. So I went with this one because it was kind of like a beginner entry-level drone, very simple to use, not very expensive. In fact, the reason I didn't buy the controller originally with the drone was because it was going to be a lot more expensive to get the combination kit. And this particular drone actually has built-in functions directly into the drone. So there are some shots that you can program it to do just by pushing buttons on the drone. You don't need any sort of controller at all. And you can also use it with the DJI Fly app on a smartphone. So when I bought this, I honestly didn't think I would need the controller. But I very quickly discovered, the first few times I tried to get footage with this drone, is that you're very limited in how far the drone can fly if you're not using the controller. So if I'm just using my smartphone to control the drone, the maximum height I can send it up in the sky is 30 meters, and the maximum distance I can send it away from me horizontally is 30 meters. Now, 30 meters up in the sky may sound like a lot, but I very quickly discovered that it's actually nowhere near high enough to get a lot of the shots that I was trying to get. So you may have seen one of my earlier videos where we were in Glen Innes and we visited the Australian standing stones, and I did get a bit of drone footage there, and if you watch that video you'll be able to see some of the drone footage that I took of the stones. But the shot that I really wanted to get was an aerial shot looking directly overhead with the stones to show the whole circle that the stones were arranged in. And frustratingly, when I tried to do that, I realized that, you know, the drone would only go up 30 meters above the ground, and it was just nowhere near high enough to get the full circle of stones. So that was a bit disappointing. And I had a few other instances where I wanted to just get a little bit higher to get more of an epic sort of feel and capture the entire landscape. So I've been a little bit limited in what I can do with this drone. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic drone, does some really cool things, and especially as a solo creator, you know, I don't have a second person to hold the camera. So this little drone comes in handy sometimes if I want to get shots of, you know, me and Pepper walking along a track or something. I can set this drone to follow us and get the shot that way. So I have used it a few times, but I decided to treat myself this year, and I bought the proper controller. DJI have a few different controllers. There's one that has a built-in screen, but it's a lot more expensive, so I chose to go with this one that's designed to be used with the phone. But the thing is, just the way that the drone works, if my phone is connected to the controller and I'm using the controller to fly the drone, I can go much further and much higher. Like it's more like I think it's like 120 or 150 meters up in the sky, and I can fly it in any direction for kilometers if I could actually see that far, which I can't. But yeah, so I can, and there's a lot more features built in when you're using the controller. So I've only just recently purchased this, so I haven't had a lot of practice with it yet. As I said, I'm totally new to flying drones, so it's all a steep learning curve for me, so I need to do a little bit of practice. But stay tuned in future videos. Hopefully I'll be able to incorporate a little bit more drone footage and give you a little bit more perspective of where we are. Like for instance, this campsite where we are here at the moment is just beautiful. So places like this, I'll be able to hopefully get some much better drone footage, and which will make the videos a bit more interesting for you guys. Well, there you have it, guys. The longer I live and travel in my bus, the more I find little things that just make life on the road a little bit easier and more practical. If any of you guys are traveling or living full-time in a van or a bus and you've found some things that help make life easier, let us know in the comments below, because I'm always on the lookout for new ideas, and I'm sure there's lots of other people watching this video that are as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.